over a unique seminar. These University of Chicago scholars and students are from China, and they've all come together for luncheon and a seminar to explore an interesting and surprising mix: Adam Smith, capitalism, and communist China. Such a conversation, even their presence here in the West, would have been unthinkable just a few years ago.
Good afternoon, welcome everyone. And we're going to have this seminar, Adam Smith in China. And we have a group of scholars, students, who have expertise on Adam Smith.
Adam Smith is the first generation of economic theorists.
I think classical economics would believe that until market fails, there's no need for governmental intervention.
It is the highest impertinence and presumption in kings and ministers to pretend to watch over the economy of private people.
Yes, market works, but market needs something like morality. The people will trust each other, or at least they want to try to trust each other.
Adam Smith not only have one book called Wealth of Nations, he also have another great book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And in that book, he really lays out what kind of morality standards should the people have when they have the market kind of exchange.
I think they were surprised, happily surprised, that actually what they got from Adam Smith actually consistent with their own traditions from Confucianism and the traditions from Taoism.
Chinese students are not just studying Adam Smith in the West, they're studying him in China. All of the major Chinese universities teach the ideas of Adam Smith, and they are learning how their own traditions are similar to those of the West.
It doesn't surprise me at all that more people in China read Adam Smith than the people here in the States. The previous Chinese premier, Wen Jiabao, in many occasions praised the theory of moral sentiments. And I remember once he visiting a Chinese campus, and in front of students, he raised that book. Hey guys, you have to read this book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments.
Is China coming full circle? Will it once again embrace its cultural roots with a deeper understanding of how its history and commercial traditions merge naturally with the ideas of Adam Smith and contemporary market economics? Is communism the future of China, or will it be seen as just an aberration, a blip in China's long history?
But for China to move forward, it has to strengthen its own innovative capacity. The most severe defect of the Chinese system is that China now has an open market for goods, but doesn't have a free market for ideas.
A free market not only opens our minds to new ideas, it helps us to be far more productive. From thousands of independent suppliers around the world, millions of parts have been shipped to Airbus in Toulouse, France. Here they will be assembled into the largest and most modern airliner on Earth, a product of the vast benefits of a global division of labor, a concept popularized by Adam Smith.
The division of labour, so far as it can be introduced, occasions in every art a proportional increase of the productive powers of labour.
Few things better illustrate the benefits of the division of labor than factories like this. Smith would have been amazed. What was an extraordinary insight in Smith's day, the productive potential of the division of labor, is now a commonplace, common-sense global phenomenon.
Here we are in our mock-up hall here in Toulouse. We have full-size models of the major models that we produce for Airbus.
Alain Pardo is the head of marketing communications at Airbus in Toulouse, France.
They're fully furnished, so they have seats and galleys and furnishings, just like a real airplane. If you like, it's sort of a showroom. We are many thousand people in Toulouse, but we're of course a global company, we're not just French. So an A380 is a very big airplane. In fact, it's the world's largest commercial airplane. And what really distinguishes it is the fact that it's got 2 decks, 2 levels, 2 cabins. And it's an airplane that probably has something in the order of 4 million individual parts. 2.5 million of those are unique part numbers. We must have something in the order of 1,500 suppliers in probably about 30 countries.
And each of those suppliers does what they do best. They specialize in their own area of expertise. The wings are constructed in England, and each contains 32,000 individual parts.
The wing is enormous. It's huge. The wingspan of this aeroplane is about 80 meters. That's something in the order of 250 feet. So it's bigger than almost every other aeroplane ever flown, and certainly the largest commercial aeroplane flown.
Smith first described the division of labor by looking at the manufacture of simple pins. We've come a long way since, but the principle is still the same. The larger the scale of the cooperation, the greater the chance of specializing.
I think for one company to try to do everything on its own would be prohibitively expensive in terms of just not money, but resource, people, know-how. It's a global business. People fly around the world day in, day out. It's a global supply business. It's a global manufacturing business.
You concentrate on doing the things that you're good at. I concentrate on doing the things that I'm good at. And then we exchange. And then we're both really much, much better off because we're very much more efficient.
What we see in the world today in a globalized economy is millions, indeed billions of people who are cooperating with one another in innovative new ways around the world. In some sense, that really is the Adam Smithian world.
With incredible machines like these, we can travel from one continent to the other, supported by a vast network of millions of people and thousands of systems that keep everything up in the air. And while we're flying, tons of freight is traveling with us in the cargo holds. But by far, most products traded between nations still travel as they did in Smith's day, on the seas. With every one of the allotted containers unloaded in Algeciras, the Maersk McKinney Muller is ready to depart. A cargo ship rests at its dock only long enough to unload and load. At most ports, the crew never leaves the ship. Before dawn, with the moon setting behind the mountains, she heads into the crowded Strait of Gibraltar.
I would say that's a favorite place to be on the bridge once the sun rises. And you have this deep orange sun coming up, and you see the light changing in the horizon just before it breaks.
Aboard the Maersk McKinney Muller, the crew on the giant ship settles into their daily rhythm, checking the bracing on the containers, keeping the ship clean, and performing routine maintenance. Maersk is a Danish company. The captain and his senior officers are from Denmark. The rest of the crew is international.
That is correct, leaving Algeciras bound for Rotterdam.
In the past, everything had to be done manually. Nowadays, a lot of the functions that we control are done automatically via computers and monitors. And that, of course, requires less manpower. An officer or navigator nowadays is actually, he's not steering the big wheel anymore. He's basically monitoring all the automated systems on board.
The 24 crew who run the ship are spread over its quarter-mile length. They seldom see one another. They come together at mealtime, 3 times a day. Romy, the Filipino cook and oldest member of the crew, prepares a diverse menu with dishes that make the men feel at home. It's a time to relax, share information and plan for the work ahead. This huge ship demonstrates the impact Adam Smith envisioned international trade would have on prosperity. It's not what's in the containers, but what they represent that's important. Smith believed that wealth is not just the things you own, like gold in the bank, but also your labor and the things you can get in exchange. The more others create, and the more you trade with them, the better off you are. And with ships like this, world trade is much more efficient and environmentally friendly. At the heart of the vessel is its unique state-of-the-art propulsion system.
They are what they call super long stroke. When you have super long stroke, you have a slower speed.
Per Schilling Nielsen is chief engineer. He's been with Maersk for 25 years.
They're doing maximum 73 revolutions per minute. They're directly linked to the propeller. That means the propeller is doing maximum 73 RPM.
The long-stroke engine is designed to squeeze the most miles possible out of every drop of oil. It lowers fuel consumption by 37% and carbon dioxide emissions per container by 50%.
We spend a lot less fuel consumption moving one box from one of the major ports in the Far East to one of the major ports in Europe.
In fact, per container, this ship emits less greenhouse gas than almost any other method of transportation. It emits less CO2 per ton of goods moved, 15 times less than a truck and 6 times less than rail. Much of this efficiency is due to the sheer number of containers secured on board.
We are carrying these close to 60% of the cargo below the deck. So, and people have a tendency to forget that because you don't see it, it's just hidden below the hatches of the ship.
René Hansen is the ship's chief officer and among other tasks is in control of the cargo.
Looking at a stack like this, we see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10
stacked on top of each other. This combined with loading 9 on deck gives a very good idea that the vast amount of cargo that is being carried, which you cannot see when the ship just passes by on the open oceans.
So whatever you can imagine that can be put inside this box, we can more or less carry.
And today, more and more of what's carried aboard ship are perishable goods, enabling growers to sell into markets thousands of miles away at a fraction of the cost of air freight. Torben Andersen is the electrical engineer aboard ship.
Every morning I go around, look at every single container, see if there's any malfunctions, if the temperature is as it's supposed to be.
Everything that you put in your refrigerator at home, we put in the refrigerators on board the ship, just in vast scales. And if we look at our refrigerated containers, we can carry flower bulbs from Netherlands for tulips. We can carry chocolate from Poland. We carry wine, expensive French wine we carry in refrigerated containers.
Fruits and vegetables stay fresh for dramatically longer periods of time.
We can make an artificial atmosphere in our containers.
By controlling the levels of oxygen, carbon dioxide and nitrogen.
And then as we're getting closer to the port of delivery, then we will start increasing the oxygen level in the container, and then the bananas are, so to speak, ready when they hit the supermarket.
The shelves of supermarkets throughout the world are stocked with goods transported aboard cargo ships like the Maersk Mc-Kinney Møller.